Amazing, amazing. We made it. We made it. So you can see this is actually live. I can see all of you behind the camera. I can see the chats. We have an amazing team of moderators. Let me tell you, there's a lot of Zoom rooms, but I brought in my entire team and some of our core community members that have been with me for the past 3 years teaching this stuff to support you guys. And we're gonna get into me sharing my screen from my laptop right here in a second here. This will be very tactical. There's 2 exercises that I expect you to follow along to complete this very first training. As you know, today is all about setting up your prompt. So the result of this session is actually going to be you having a setup that you can now go back to every time you need something. And then in the next session, I'm going to show you things that you can do in there. But today's result is you're actually going to have the clone set up, okay? The first version of it. In the next few weeks, we're going to layer on top of that and we're going to make it deeper, but you're actually going to have the base system set up by the end of today. That is going to take your interaction though. But I can see all of you are a very proactive bunch and we'll get this done together. Now look, I realize that this is a widespread audience in terms of experience with this stuff. There's people who have barely used Chatgpt, there's people who've never used Chatgpt who have this as an intro, and there's people who are already asking questions about development and automation, and I see all of you. Now, look, this system, I believe, is going to benefit every single one of those groups, because even the people who are on the deep end of it, like sometimes I'll maybe like raise my finger and say like an advanced thing or two to address them. But this training is essentially the essence. It's really the essence of everything that I've taught and learned over the past few years. And not just me, the entire community behind me and the team and the community we had before and the YouTube channel and the hundreds of thousands of people who've learned this stuff. This is all of it distilled down into one training. And I'm so happy to bring this to all of you. Now, what do you need? Because you know that there's no technical skill required here, but we will need a few things. First of all, I need you to have a Chatgpt account. I know there's other AIs. We're going to work in this one. At the end of the training, you're going to be able to take everything we built here, all the context, and bringing it into other AIs. But we're going to be doing this training in Chatgpt just because they have the market share, they have all the tooling. And if there's one product to recommend in the entire space, it's that one. It's simple as that. So I need you to have a Chatgpt account. Secondly, I saw some of you are actually on their phone. Ideally, you're on your laptop or desktop computer, and that's because you're going to be using multiple tabs, okay? We prepared this in a way that is going to be as simple as possible for you, but there's still going to be action on your side involved, and you're going to have to copy-paste certain things from a website into Chatgpt, and that's just easier on a desktop device than on your phone. Thirdly, it's not required, okay? You can do this on a free plan. But seriously, if you're here, just my heartfelt recommendation, if you're on the $20 plan, it's just good. You get better models, you're not gonna run out of context. The free plan, like you're gonna start playing, you're gonna get enthusiastic and it's gonna cut you off after like 15 minutes. You're gonna be able to do this whole training on the free plan. It works, but I do recommend the paid one. If you get the $20 plan, like there's just gonna be features and depth of it that are recommended. And anybody saying, oh, I got the phone, no worries, you can do it too. It's just gonna, you're gonna have to be a little ninja, like switching between the browser and switching between Chatgpt. So, and those are really the main things you need, right? Because essentially, I'll give you the outline now and we'll get into my computer here in a second, but essentially you need one browser tab open with a website that we built for you where you can copy certain prompts, certain text, you copy it. It's like a one click, there's a button, I'll show you. And then you'll tab over to Chatgpt and you need to insert that into the chat window there. So, desktop computer and Chatgpt account, ideally a paid one, and you're good to go. Now, there's a few kind of like very low tech skills, but they are tech skills, like, copy pasting. I assume that you're familiar with copy pasting. If not, like I'll guide you through it. I know this might be, and I know some of the advanced folks might be like, this is basic, but like we really need to get everyone to a point where they have this set up by today's session, and we'll manage to do that. So let me check out the top questions here, and then we'll get into it. Also, one more thing: if anything comes up, right? I have my plan here. I'm going to go through it. I have the chats on here. I have Slido on here, so you can vote on Slido on the top questions. And we're going to address everything. In the end, I'm going to stick around to get all the questions knocked out that we can. But just by the nature of this being so many people at the same time, we probably won't be able to address every single thing. That's why you have 2 moderators in every single room. They're there, they're skilled, they're taught on this curriculum, and you can ask them your questions. And then beyond that, we have the community to support you, where we have a team of 30 people around the clock supporting you and answering your questions. I'm in there too. And we have more sessions. And if anything goes unanswered or I miss something, I'll record a video to fill that gap in. But I believe everybody's going to be able to do this. Okay, so with that being said, let's get into the workshop. And the workshop starts by, exploring context. A second at our computer. So meanwhile, I hope all of you are set up, and I hope all of you, like if you wanna prepare, you can already pull up the website we prepared for you, the Notion page with all the resources. I believe it's in chat, it's in the community. Use this stuff. I want you to understand how it works. I don't want to just give you fish. I want to teach you fishing. It's because if you do them, you can then go back and edit and alter and add. And as you grow and as we layer multiple layers of context, you'll be able to understand what's going on there and add your own. Okay, I see Matthias sharing in the chat. Amazing, great stuff. So yeah, the link will be in the chat. You just need the language of Chatgpt. There's levels to it. Just like with learning a new language, you start out, you kind of get the basics, you learn the first phrases, you learn the first few words, then you get into grammar, then you show up in the country, you realize you still don't speak any of it, then you progress, you do your Duolingo streak, whatever you might be doing, and then after a few years, you get to a point where like, wow, you understand it, right? But it's this progression, and this progression happens everywhere in life, and it also happens in Chatgpt. You're gonna learn how to speak Chatgpt, but then also it happens in life, right? When a child is born, they go through different stages, and they go through different stages of the school system, and it's the same thing here in Chatgpt. Most people are used to the kindergarten level, and I think by the end of today, we'll get your Chatgpt usage to like a high school level. And I like that analogy, not because it's just relatable to everyone, and everybody has been in school in one way or another, or most people, but also because that's how it is, right? In kindergarten, you're kind of like, it really maps very well. In kindergarten, you're kind of like, you're yourself, and you're like joyous and out there, but like you really don't have a concept of the wider world. You don't have a concept of society. You don't have a concept of like interplanetary kind of like travel, or like all of literature, whatever. That comes at a later stage in life, right? That comes like in high school, maybe at a university level. But most people like use Chatgpt at this like kindergarten level, where they kind of just intuitively feel their way through it. They kind of show up, they're like, hey, great, I'll use this as a Google search, I'll maybe use it to draft something, maybe to research something, but context. Now, what is context? It's a tricky word because it's everything. It's really everything. Context, like to every situation. Right now I'm in the studio, and the context is you guys listening, me being mic'd up. The context is also me preparing this training. In the past, the context is also we're going to do more sessions in the future. But then also the context is every single little detail of the carpet on this floor that you can't even see. I could go in and talk for half an hour just about the structure there is there. The thing is, not all context is relevant though. The details of this carpet, completely irrelevant to our training. Maybe talking about this session and the next session and how to actually do this, more relevant to this training. So not all context is created equal, especially when you communicate. If you communicate too much context, you overwhelm people, they get lost. If you communicate too little, they don't know what to do, right? So imagine this, like, let's say you're at work and you have a new colleague. They come in and you haven't talked to them before. They don't know anything about your company. They don't know anything about you. They don't know anything about what you do. They just come in, and all you know is they're highly skilled. They're super intelligent, experienced, but they don't have any context on you, your company, your business, on you as a person. They just don't know anything. If you tell that person, hey, write me an email, and you leave, it doesn't matter how good they are. It doesn't matter how skilled or experienced they are. What kind of ego? What do you mean? Write me an email. What kind of email? Who are we writing the email to? Do you want to share maybe what the content of the email is, right? So that would be too much context. Yet on the other hand, if you like sit them down and you talk at them for 4 hours and you just dump everything that's in your mind on them, and they don't even have ability to take notes or anything, it's gonna be like, okay, that's probably, they're not gonna catch everything, right? It's gonna be a bit leaky. So there's too much context and there's too little context. And today, the clone, the first setup, is going to be giving it exactly the right amount of context. Now, you can add more, but in this exercise, we're gonna give it the right amount of context about you, your goals, where you're at right now, where you wanna go, what you did in the past. There's gonna be a little exercise here in the middle where you're going to be filling out a form with those questions and a few more. And by giving it the right amount of context, it's just like training this new coworker, right? The companies have onboarding programs. What is that about? It's about giving them the right amount of context so they have a chance to thrive in the organization. Same thing with Chatgpt. If you come in, it's sort of like, meeting a new person, or just being in kindergarten and just kind of doing things intuitively. A high schooler, to go back to that analogy, has more context in the world and can do deeper tasks. Same with ChatGPT. So that's why this is important, and that's why I wanted to spend a little bit of time here in the beginning to establish that this is context. For the advanced folks out there, this bootcamp is essentially a masterclass at context engineering. That's what it is called these days in technical circles. But really what we're going to be layering is expressing everything that matters that relates to you, your career, and with the sessions, we're going to layer more and more context. This is going to be the start, but it's a start that sets you up so that you'll walk away from this and you'll want to try things because it's amazing and it can do a lot. Okay, so let me start by showing you a little demo and then we'll address some questions. So let's go to my computer here and let me do the most basic thing, okay? So for anybody who's more experienced, just a quick note, I turned all the customization options in ChatGPT off. We don't need to explain this now, we'll do it later, but memories are off, everything, custom instructions are off. And I'm going to ask the most basic thing of chat. So this is what I would call vanilla or naked ChatGPT. It doesn't have any context on me, it's just an empty account set up with any information on me, okay? And I'm just gonna, you see my screen? Is it all good? Yeah, nice, fantastic. Okay, so I'm just gonna ask, what can you do for me? And this is the first demo of the clone, okay? So this is not the clone yet, this is just ChatGPT without any context. What can you do for me? I'm just gonna hit enter. I can help you with a lot of things. And then it just goes into every imaginable topic. And by the way, this is a little tip right away. You can always ask it that, right? People are like, hey, what can ChatGPT do for me? How about you just ask it? Just a suggestion. But anyway, if I do that, it's going to tell me. It can, explain concepts clearly. It can write. It can help with coding and technical tips. There's concrete examples underneath here, data analysis, all of this stuff, right? So this is an answer that is 0 out of 10 customized. This is an answer that is set up to resonate with 8 billion people. This is an answer for everyone. The goal here with today's session is setting it up so that we can so that it's personalized to us, right? That it's personalized to our context. So let me open up my clone over here, Igor's clone, and I'm just going to put in the same thing. I'm just going to paste it with Command V. You can also right click and say paste here. What can you do for me? Okay, I'm just going to send this same message, right? The only difference is one context file that is attached within this project. For anybody who's used that before, we're going to be building that context file throughout. No worries, if you don't know what that means, just follow along. We'll have you set up within an hour. So what can you do for me? I'm Igor's clone copilot, and I'm here to help Igor with building and refining context, memory, and retrieval frameworks for AI education. So this is stuff that is specific to me. You don't even need to understand this. But all of a sudden you can see this is personalized to me because it's referencing Igor's personal DNA, which is attached. Okay, so now I give it context on me. I educated it. I onboarded the employee. And then the usage within ChatGPT all of a sudden goes from kindergarten level to high school, maybe even college level soon, because all of a sudden you can see this stuff is custom tailored to me. So let's see, what can it do for me right now? It can help build and finalize my personal clone curriculum, which we're doing right here. I told it that this is one of my goals, like working out this curriculum and making it the best program possible. It can support me in growing the YouTube channel. Great. It can strengthen retention for the Amplifier Club. Great. I said these are my main goals in life right now for my career, right? Maybe your goals look different. We'll get to that in a second. But because I gave it context on me, because I let it know what I'm about, it has a chance to make custom recommendations. You see how different that is from the other chat? You see that different it is from, hey, I can, inform you and I can write. The other one is like, hey, I can help you develop the curriculum you're working on. I can help you, it's super concrete, right? And the only difference there is the context. I didn't ask for anything different. Both times I said, what can you do for me? The difference is that this clone that we'll be building here is set up with a context file. You can think of it as a PDF or a Word document that I just attached with some of the details. That's what we'll be getting to now soon, and that's what we'll be building interactively. But I hope you see the difference, because it's major. And then in every single thing that you do in Chatgpt, it's going to make a difference. Well, every single thing. I would say 80% of the cases. And some stuff, when the context is not relevant, it's not going to use it, right? So when I'm asking, what can you do? It's going to be like, oh, let me see who he is, what he does, and then I can answer better. In other cases, if I'm going to be asking about something super specific, let me invent something. Like, if I'm going to be asking for how to operate a valve on an oil rig or something, I don't know, it's just a typical everyday query that I have, then it's not going to pull in my context, because I tell it about me and what I do and what I want to do. It's going to give me an oil rig type of answer, right? So most of the time it's going to be relevant. Most of the time it's going to be relevant. And it's going to be relevant in the situations where you want to do something. So those are the most important ones. Okay, so now that you understand why context is so important, let's actually talk about what a clone is. I showed you now. Let's talk about it in a little more detail, but essentially it is this. This is the definition. So it's ChatGPT that is equipped with your personal DNA inside of a project, so that every chat has your permanent context. Now you learned what context is. You learned this rough idea of a clone. Okay, it knows me, great. But what is the personal DNA? Well, that's what we call this file that holds your context. So as I said, we'll be using a very specific file format here. Excuse me, just because that is best practice, but you could also do it in a PDF, you could do it in a Word document. What works best though, I'll tell you already, we'll get to that in a second, is Markdown. If you want to do it in a Markdown file. Now, good news is we came up with a workflow here that is you're not even going to leave ChatGPT to produce your Markdown file. It's going to be amazing, but we'll get to that in a second. But basically the DNA is you can think of it as a document that holds your context, and we're going to attach that to a project in ChatGPT so that it's permanent. And when you do new things, you're not going to have to reestablish who you are. And yes, it goes way deeper than memories, because memories are sort of, for anybody who's intermediate to advanced and knows about memories are sort of OpenAI's way at trying to automate it for 8 billion people. But it's okay. It's okay. It's not bad. This is the way OpenAI wish everybody did it, but it requires your attention. It requires you hanging out in a training session for 2 hours to actually set it up. OpenAI can't expect that of everybody. We're doing it here. So memories are an inferior way to do this, and they can supplement this well, but we'll get there. And if you have memories already, by the way, I saw one of the Slido questions is if you have memories, then it can autofill the form for you that we're gonna do in a second, so you can get a bit of a head start. We'll talk about that in a second. So anybody who's new, don't worry. Okay, so really, this right here. 2 types of AI, okay? This is what I've been explaining. This is a different way to put it. So if you just have the shallow AI or naked ChatGPT or vanilla ChatGPT, whatever you want to call it, without context, then every question is just going to get a generic answer that is not custom tailored. It's made for everyone. They made the product for everyone on this planet. That's their goal. They want to become the #1 AI platform. Doesn't know you, doesn't know your business. And it's like asking strangers on the street. Just picture this for a second. ChatGPT can do so much for you. And let's take something a bit more personal. Let's take you ask it, maybe like, hey, I've had a, I don't know, really bad fight with my partner, and they said this, and I said this. Imagine showing up with that question to a stranger on the street. Just not even saying hi, just being like, hey, what's up? Like, listen, my wife, oh God, she was a little crazy yesterday, and like, what is their reaction gonna be? And even if they were like extremely kind-hearted and they would give you an answer, what would they answer? They would be like, okay, does she do that regularly? Or like, they don't know anything about you. Now imagine bringing the same thing to your best friend or your partner or your parent, whoever that close person in your life is, if you have one. They're gonna know, right? Because they have the context. Again, I'm just like trying to find all these different angles to explain to you that context really matters in both in life, but especially with ChatGPT. I'm telling you, I'm gonna teach you how to, like, I promise you that I'm gonna teach you speaking ChatGPT, so to say, as I call it, like learning the language of ChatGPT. But really, it's the language of expressing the right amount of context, different slides, and that's why this entire intro is just supposed to help you realize that it's all about the context of ChatGPT. It's about how much you give it. Okay. So nice. Now we're ready to prepare our setup here. We're ready to get into it. Are we ready? Everybody good to go? Did you warm up your hands? Did you do one of these? You know? Okay, amazing. So I hope you have one tab of the Notion template open, because we're going to be copying from there in just a second, and then I need a second tab with ChatGPT. So concretely, what that is going to look like is something like this. I'm just going to open it here for myself. Yeah, it's here, my favorite. It's amazing. So what this will look like is this. You should be looking at this resource app is something like this. So it should look like this. And this is for anybody who's a Notion user. For now, this is only designed to be used as a website only. So don't worry about duplicating this yet. Next week, we'll be adding a big prompt library for you and more resources. For now, all I need you to do is like use this as a website and just go to session number 1. If you ever get lost within this, I prepared a little 3-minute video tutorial that kind of explains this whole thing. In here, you can go here, get started, resource up. No need to watch this right now. You have me right now explaining it. But if you ever get lost, here's a 3-minute video that should bring you back on track. One thing I need you to know, if you click one of these pages, you need to either go back, you see it, like you just go back, or you can use these breadcrumbs at the top to return to the main page. So it's kind of, these pages are like nested within each other, okay? So Build Your Clone DNA lives within the 30-day AI Advantage Bootcamp Resource Hub. You can just navigate in and out like this. And if you manage this, then you're basically good to go, because all of the rest of it, you just scroll. So this is the first exercise that I'll be doing with you here. But all you need to do is scroll. You guys feel confident about this website? Is this all right? If there's any questions, you can ask them in chat. I want to address some of the top slider questions here before we begin, though, because they're relevant to what we're about to do. So let me do that, because we're in the clone preparation. So the hands-on exercise is the next chapter here. But now in the prep, so I want to get the biggest questions out of the way. And also, I wanna talk about, I need to introduce you to the Canvas feature. So these are the two things we're gonna do. So to address the top question slider, Tony Burns. Is more than one clone recommended? A personal clone, professional clone, etc. What a good question. And I love that this slider is so great, because this way we can really like see what's like in the, I don't know, so to say, collective consciousness. If there's any young readers out there. Young, I suppose, it's English. Anyway, Tony Burns, yes. This bootcamp, you'll be building one. This session, you will be building one. What I would recommend in practice, don't worry about this today, okay? So this whole program is set up to meet everybody where they're at. But what I would recommend is eventually you probably want one personal one and one business one. And then if you have like multiple businesses, I can tell you for myself, my 2 most used ones is one that is personal and one that is for AI education. And then sometimes I create a third one for something specific that I'm doing, but usually most